Well, tonight, a homecoming that should have happened 60 years ago. The military returned the remains of Ernest Glenn Munn, an Army airman and Ohio native, to his family this week, and they're preparing for his funeral tomorrow, a service that's been on hold for 66 years. Well, new tonight at 6, 10 TV's Angela Ann explains why it took so long to bring the blonde bomber back home.
On the far east edge of Ohio, there's a small town called Pleasant Grove. It's a quiet area, mostly covered with farms and fields.
But this is beautiful, isn't it?
It's where sisters Jeanne Pyle and Sally Zeyer grew up in the early 20s with another sister and their older brother, Ernest Glenn Munn.
He was so excited. He was so happy. He wanted to fly a plane so bad.
They still remember how their aviator brother's blonde hair brought girls' hearts to a halt.
All the girls got to liking him, you know, seeing him, and they'd say, "Hey, here comes the blonde bomber." And they just had a big time over it, and we talked about it so many times, you know.
Munn was an Army air cadet stationed in California. On November 18th, 1942, his aircraft went down on a training mission. 4 World War II airmen lost in the night sky.
We just kept thinking every day we'd hear something, you know. And then it just went on and on and on, and we didn't know what was happening and when they would find them.
For decades, Munn's family waited for word about their brother. Nothing came. But then in 2005, hikers found plane wreckage high in the Sierra Nevada mountains and the body of a man frozen in the glacier.
When they kind of described the one they found that said had blonde hair, well, that gave us hope.
That hope turned to disappointment. The body was Leo Mustonen, another man on board that fateful flight. But then last fall, author Peter Stekel was doing research for his book about the final flight in California. He hiked back to the site of the crash.
I never in a million years thought that I would find another one of the aviators.
Stekel found the body of Ernest Munn frozen on top of a glacier. Also part of his sweater, a ring, pieces of his pocket comb, and an unopened parachute, all left behind.
Couldn't believe it, that there'd be anything left of them, you know what I mean? But I guess they were frozen. They were protected. They were still in their youth, like they were.
Ernest Munn's family says he'll be buried in this cemetery in Pleasant Grove, right at the foot of his mother's grave. But in California, there is another marker honoring the blonde bomber and the 3 other airmen who died that night in 1942. That marker was, until now, the final resting place for 4 lost airmen. But now, 66 years later, Ernest Munn's sisters can begin to find peace.
Just wish I could see him and hug him again. It's sad, you know, when you think about it. You try not to because it's been so long and everything, but every now and then you just break down and wish it hadn't happened.
But now, the blonde bomber, their brother, is home at last. Angela Ann, 10 TV News.
Ernest Munn's funeral, with full military honors, will be held at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon in Coleraine, Ohio. For more on the blonde bomber, just go to 10tv.com and click on News.
Finally, peace for that family.
Very much so. Great story, too. Great story.